Shit.
Yeah.
I just realized something.
Hmm.
Is The Matrix an isekai? I will accept either answer. I don't care. I don't have any skin in this game. I'm just curious what people think.
It would be called I took the blue pill and woke up in the real world.
No, but see, that's the thing, is that would you really say that Neo is going to a different world? Because physically,
he's leaving a different world. It's an anti-isekai.
Yes, but here's the thing. It's both ways, because not only is he returning to the real world, but he's also leaving the normal world and going to a weird world. Like, how do you define the isekai? It's another world, but like, what about, well, would it still be an isekai if you had a fantasy person come to the normal world?
I am not enough of a weeb to say definitively, but I think that yes.
Yeah, it could be argued. It's just a strange world to the main character.
Okay, so go ahead.
There's an anime called The Devil is a Part-Timer, where there's a guy who is kind of like some sort of Satan overlord in a fantasy world, and he accidentally gets sucked into a portal that dumps him out in Japan. And there's a lady who is like a hero paladin who chases after him, as well as some of the demon lord's court, basically. And they all end up in Earth, and the funny thing about it is that they basically start off with these like fantasy bodies and then get turned into normal humans when they get to Earth. And so like everyone is excessively average. Except for maybe the heroine lady. She's just kind of normal, pretty lady.
Frothing in my own world building.
It's mostly just the demon guys become normal humans. And so they aren't big and strong anymore. And so they basically are like, well, we don't have magic here, so I guess we better get a job. And then it's basically this like demon overlord.
It's
like,
manly guys doing manly things.
Kind of, yeah. It's so the one like major subversion actually from the manly guys setup is that for some reason the devil overlord is like perfectly content to work at McDonald's, which in this anime is called McRonald's.
There in TMNT Rise, the TV show, a bad guy reforms and was like this super overlord. Slight spoilers. For a show that you can't even watch because it's not on fucking Netflix anymore. He reforms, gets a job, gets some magic so he can basically disguise himself as human, and gets a job that he really enjoys as a retired reformed military overlord. He becomes a school cafeteria manager.
Huh.
And he loves it. He's like, yes, I can boss people around and maintain order and discipline amongst the unruly. He loves it.
Yeah. I will say, though, actually, as someone who's watched The Devil is a Part-Timer, it almost strikes me as, like, almost a little bit of a plot hole for why he's like that. And the thing is, they do it on purpose. Like, they actually have the other demons, like, confront him. They're like, come on, we were going to take over the world. How can you...
We had shit to do. We had
yeah,
plans.
it's like, they're like, how can you tolerate being a shift leader at McDonald's? And he's just, like, content with it. He's just like, it's not bad. It's a good place to work. You know, I'm good at my job. I like my coworkers, and I like making the customers happy. And they're like, how?
And it's... Go ahead.
And it is just, like, a little bit like, no, really, how? How can this be the same person? Like, it makes me curious what kind of demon overlord he was, because they always portray him as, like, you know, a very, almost like Castlevania-like big boss where he's like in a giant castle and there's a strike of thunder in the background. And it makes me wonder, like, was that an over-exaggeration, or did something fundamentally change his personality after he got here? And I'm sure I'm looking way too far into it. It's just a comedy, you know, because he's surrounded by all these guys who used to be his, like, demon like lords and henchmen, and they're like stuck without magic and very dissatisfied with the situation. Either that or they're adapting to it, which is also humorous.
So there's a notion here that I love, and it's kind of like one of my driving forces for like thinking about sci-fi stories, which is that like we always think about like the big war between humans and robots, but the thing is like there's nothing that overlaps between like what an artificial robot would need and what a human would need. Like what? So because like a lot of the things that we think of when we think of war and battle is a fight over resources, right? But an AI, resource-wise, just needs energy. And I mean, you could get energy from the sun. You could leave the planet and get energy from anywhere else. There's nothing about Earth or humans that is like inherently in your way from getting what you need, right? Mm-hmm. So it'd be very unlikely that, you know, a completely fully formed sapient like robotic or computer intelligence would have any reason to fight us, and more likely they would just ignore us and leave. Be like, hey, there's nothing for me here. I'm out. I'm gonna go hang out near the sun. Mercury, maybe. There's tons of energy there. Back to one thing I wanted to mention back on Isakais is that Kyle and I were looking at Kickstarters, and we found a comic where there's the galactic royalty, and the royal line had almost failed, and like one of the royal line was like put on Earth to be raised in like the hood, and just kind of like so it's this young black kid who grew up like in the city, got adopted, had a young urban life. It was fine. You just had a fine childhood and life. And then some space rebels show up. It's like, yo, so you're like next in line for galactic like king. You want to go into space, do some space shit? And he goes on space adventures, which is cool. So, Kyle asks me, is this an isekai? And I'm like, I don't think so. Because it is still the same world, but, like, the structure is still isekai. What do you guys think?
Depends on how he's taken to space, because...
They come down on spaceships, say, yo, want to hang out, and then they take him back up. I don't know. I haven't read the book yet. I saw it on Kickstarter. So, if I get my hands on it, then, like, I'll tell you. But the way I understood it from the Kickstarter description is, yeah, the rebels come down, like, in spaceships, go up to him and say, yo, you're space important, you want to go do space shit. And he says yes, and does, in spaceships.
I'm gonna say tentatively that is an isekai. It's tricky, because it's like...
Yeah, I said no.
It's... because I feel like... Maybe not. Gosh, sorry, I'm really on the fence about this.
I know, right? That's why I brought it up.
Because, like, okay, so let's say, for example... I feel like one of the defining traits of isekai is usually alternate universes, right? And so it's like, let's say we added an alternate universe thing in here. Let's say that the alien showed up and said, hey, you're royalty in our universe, and we just, like, stored you here for safekeeping. Come with us. You could effectively have the exact same story, except the whole, like, you know, person kidnapping part would be different, you know, like...
It didn't strike me as a kidnapping. It said, hey, do you want to go to space? It's an invitation. By the way, the name of the comic is Galaxy Heirs by Reuben Warren, who is a comedian, actually. And this is one of his delves into comic-iness. And I wanted to shout it out because Kickstarter's ongoing. This sounds cool. Go back it. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, it's like... So there's a webcomic I read once called The Property of Hate, and it was on Smack Jeeves. And it's one where this kid is like, she's like sleeping in her bed, and suddenly this like interesting looking person. So imagine someone wearing like basically they have like a computer or no TV for a head, like a tube TV.
Happens
for a
all the
head.
time, yes.
Mm-hmm. And he's wearing like a cyan like blazer, and then like I want to say his trousers are like something really vibrant, like something vibrant pinstriped. So it's very kind of like colorful, like ooh, look at me, I'm a silly man. And I want to say he like climbs through the window and it's like, hey kid, want to go on an adventure? And the kid's like, is there going to be monsters? And he's like, oh yeah, and I'm the worst of them, or something like that. And the kid's like, yeah, sure, sounds great. And so like the kid runs off and they go like flying away into the clouds.
I believe that's what a lot of my friends would refer to as a sussy baka.
Yes, and that's the thing, is that when you read it at first, you kind of are like, the tone feels fun and like frivolous, but also
But the second you think about it even a little, it sounds like sussy baka bullshit.
Yes, exactly. It's like, wait a second,
there's
there's
free candy.
Yeah, exactly. So what you end up finding out is that this guy, his name is RGB, is basically going around and picking protagonists out, like basically kidnapping kids and saying, "Hey kid, want to be a hero?" And the kid's like, "Yeah, sure, I do."
Let's do it. Let's do a fantasy sci-fi with swords.
Yes, it's almost like making a deal with the Fae. They lose their name. They cannot remember what their name is afterwards. They simply become the hero.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's great.
Yes.
That's fucking twisted shit. I love it.
Yeah. And so what happens is that RGB is basically trying to hide like the horrible permanence of the hero's decision from them. I don't think the hero even I don't know if they even define if it's a boy or a girl. It's really ambiguous.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that it doesn't matter, because the hero is transformed, like physically, through this journey where she or he will cease to remember what their name was, and they cannot go back home as a result of it. Like they physically.
Sounds kind of like Kodagin's novel that they're writing.
Yeah. So there's like a point that they reach where the hero realizes what they've lost, and it's like, oh god, this is
dope.
Bad, And someone was telling RGB, they're like, you're never able to get them past this point. Like, I don't know why you keep trying. And it basically, it's kind of like the Dark Souls thing, where it's like, I need to keep throwing warm bodies at this problem until the problem is solved.
Because that's what I was wondering. Is like, what does RGB get out of this? Do we have a conclusive thought on the webcomic or on the comic book? Is it an isekai? Is Invitation to Space Adventure an isekai?
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
It's like if you replace space with like another, like a town. Or
say
something.
It was an Indiana Jones adventure. It's like, yo, you're like Indiana Jones's great grandkid. You want to go on archaeology adventure? Is it in space?
Yeah.
No, it's on Earth over there in a hole.
And it might be like a different culture and stuff, but I don't think that's enough to qualify as an isekai.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Also, that sounds kind of similar to the plot of, what was it? There was a movie where a guy was like, he was like a prince from like some African country, and in the original movie, Coming to America.
Damn,
and then
that was a wild fucking guess. Go on.
I'm pretty sure that was it. Yeah, because then like there was a sequel to it. So the first one is like he comes to America and he's like, haha, I'm a prince and I'm basically a fish out of water kind of thing, and it's a comedy.
Okay, and then because that's the one with Eddie Murphy and what's his name, Darth Vader's voice.
I think so.
James Earl Jones is his dad.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because then what happened was that there's a sequel where he doesn't have an heir for some reason, but he finds out that he has like an estranged son in America. And so he goes to America to find this guy who's basically living, a not glamorous life, and is like, hey, guess what? You're my heir now, and I'm gonna take you back home, and you're gonna live like royalty. I didn't see the whole thing, I just saw like the beginning of it, but it kind of reminds me of that setup. And basically the only difference is that they don't go to space.
Yeah. So, like, I'm trying to like pin down like what actually is the defining, because I remember we were talking about Magical Girl, and I was asking, is this a magical girl? Is that a magical girl? And I remember like one of the key factors that you gave me, Kimmy, was it needs to have a transformation sequence. And I'm just like, because I feel like I agree that, hey, let's go space adventure isn't an isekai. But yeah, like it had. I think that the Matrix is, though, because there is a threshold, and this other reality is another reality with completely different rules.
I think that's a main part of it. Yeah, it needs to be like a different reality, like a different set of physics or something.
One has magic, one doesn't. What do you got?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there also has to be this sense of like literally being plopped into a different world. Like, gosh, it's really tough because, like, okay, so imagine something being set up like an isekai, right? Just as a thought experiment, where somebody goes into a portal and they wake up and they're in a forest and they go, what? No, this doesn't look like anything I'm familiar with. And the technology level is different and people are using magic and what's going on? And then let's just say that they discover that they're just on a continent, on the same planet, and that there's just magic over here. It's like, well, would that be an isekai? It's just, In fact, actually, here's another one that's very similar to that. Escaflowne. So the main character gets isekai'd basically to the moon?
I love that it's a verb.
Yeah. So she gets isekai'd, and it's like...
I'm having a thought.
Yeah, I think she's kind of on the moon. Either that or she's on an invisible planet, because it is confirmed that they can see the Earth from this planet. They look up in the sky and they say, it's the mystic moon, because they think the Earth is orbiting them.
I'm having a thought. And I think that... all right. I'm working this out. I'm working this out, like, right now. I think the dividing line between an isekai and not an isekai is... In Galaxy Airs, the aliens come to dude and be like, yo, you're important. Do you want to space? Yes, no. At least that's what I interpret from the story. He's got a call to adventure and a choice to answer it. In an isekai, in the Matrix, in fact, well, he does get a choice, but. Okay, let me finish the thought, and then we'll talk about the Matrix. In most of the isekai anime that I can think of, the person just got sucked into the world. Yeah. And the call to adventure happens after you're in the world.
Yeah.
Versus you're in your life, you receive a call to adventure, and answering the call to adventure pulls you to another place. I think that's the differentiation. Whether the call to adventure pulls you to another world, that's not an isekai. But if you're pulled to another world and whilst there are given a call to adventure, that's an isekai.
Okay, well, I'm going to raise you
to
Alice in Wonderland. Alice chases the rabbit into the rabbit hole. Because the rabbit, I think, was already talking.
Now, I love that you said this. Keep going. I love because this relates to the Matrix. Keep going.
Yeah. So, oh my God, it does. Yeah. So this one's tricky because I would definitely, I would say Alice in Wonderland. I want to say it's an isekai.
I do too.
Even though she had the autonomy to chase the rabbit and jump into the rabbit hole, I do think that there's like, I think one of the things that's really common with isekais is the feeling that like. You've left everything behind and that going back is difficult. Owl House, okay, I've actually started watching Owl House.
Yeah.
They actually did something really interesting to subvert a very common Isakai trope, which is that Luz can go back whenever she wants. And she just doesn't. And that's actually really peculiar. I mean, it makes sense.
Watching.
Keep watching? Okay. Okay. I'm only like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, no, for a while, yeah. Oh, fuck, I should stop talking.
Okay. But yeah, like in the first couple episodes, basically, just looking at the first few episodes, Ida's like, oh yeah, I've got this door, you can just go back if you want. And she goes, well, I'm supposed to be at shitty summer camp, so I might as well just stick around here because it won't make any difference.
Yeah, because this place is way cooler.
Yeah.
All right, so because here's what I'm thinking. I want to think about like Alice in Wonderland and the Matrix, because in Alice in Wonderland, she does see something weird, and she's like, "Oh, that rabbit is talking and looking at a pocket watch. What the fuck?" And she follows it curiously, but that's not a call to adventure. That's like, "Oh wait, what's that weird thing?" And then she touches it. And then goes to the other world. Matrix. Neo is living his normal nerd life, and then suddenly some fucking weird shit happens to him. He's like, what the fuck is this weird shit? In fact, like, his introduction to weird shit is like The Office, and then the agents, and then they put the thing in him. And so weird shit is already happening to him without his consent. And then everyone's like, yo, other world. And gives him, and then leads up to the choice, red pill, blue pill, do you want in or not? So that's where we're having the trouble of, is this a call to adventure? That is the call to adventure. When he's offered the pill. But the weird shit started happening to him before that. The other world is happening to him, period. And then the call for adventure happens. And then he takes it and goes all the way in. But he doesn't go all the way in until the call for adventure. So it's walking the line based on the rule I set.
I think that part of it is that Neo kind of knew what he was getting into, whereas Alice didn't.
I think that Neo knew he was getting into something.
Well, he knew, he already had some general idea that the Matrix was a thing and that Morpheus existed, and he was literally searching for Morpheus before the events of the film.
But also, like, completely unclear as to, like, the implications of that. It was not clear to him that it was another world.
That's true, but they did say that this pill's going to change everything.
They did say that.
Yeah, because I think that's actually kind of the large part of it, is that with the Isakai, I think everything is supposed to change in some sense. In fact, I feel like those tend to be the better Isakais. So, the ones where they change like the time period and they change the laws of physics.
Yeah, which the Matrix definitely does, and Alice in Wonderland definitely does. Now, Alice how does Alice actually enter Wonderland?
The rabbit hole.
The rabbit hole, right. Does she fall in, or does she...
She falls.
Okay. Didn't have a choice. She followed the rabbit, but fell into Wonderland. Okay, here's actually part of, like, why the Matrix is kind of like, it knows that this is a question, because later the dude's like, we didn't have a choice. You didn't tell us what those pills fucking did. Like, the dude that took the pill and he later becomes a traitor is just like, you didn't tell us what that pill was. You didn't tell what this shit was. You could have just told us before we took the pill, asshole. You know, and he's bitching about it because he got isekai'd. And he feels like he got isekai'd. I need to take a quick break. I'm going to turn on my speaker so I can keep hearing you guys.
Yeah, I guess it depends on... a big part is, like, it depends on each person's point of view. Right?
Yeah. I feel like there's some degree of, like... Are you... Actually, let me think about this.
Because Neo was taken out of the fantasy world and brought into the real world, which usually that's the other way around for the Matrix, but he understood the fantasy world as being the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And then the traitor guy was content with getting put back in the Matrix and just going back to believing that it was the real world.
I feel like part of the reason the Matrix doesn't feel like an isekai to me is because you end up learning that the fantasy world is fake. You know? Like, it does sort of continue to be a world where there's people that are doing things, but, like, the whole point is that you find out it's a simulation, and that's a bit different, because it's kind of like...
It's not like a real place.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's sort of like those stories where someone gets pulled into a book, you know, where they're in the book and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in my book," and I'll be honest, I hate those setups. I really hate those stories.
Those are not great. Makes me wonder if if Spirited Away is an isekai.
Yes.
Or not?
Yes,
because it has
is.
A lot.
I hard vote yes on Spirited Away.
I vote. I don't know.
Okay, so LD Rich is chiming in saying the phrase "he got isekai'd" sounds like an Among Us style game. I agree, but also Page Master. I don't know Page Master.
Well, he just gets sucked into a bunch of books, doesn't he?
I thought of something while I was away. Another factor for consideration. I think that in an isekai, the desire to get home is part of it. Yes or no?
I think that it is.
Say no.
I would say that there's some element of I'm away from home. I don't think it's necessary that you want to go home and be there forever, but I think that there should be some sort of addressing of I'm uncomfortable.
The lack of agency, the inability to get home.
Yeah.
To some level, I think is a factor in isekais. So,
maybe it's some of them. It's like you show up in a different world and you have like all the superpowers or whatever, though.
Yeah, but you don't have your mom.
I am kind of curious about that though, because I'm trying to think of an example where someone gets isekai'd and they're like, "Wow, this makes my life so much better. I am so much happier here now. This is amazing."
I have a perfect example of that. The Tim Schafer game Brutal Legend. Dude's a roadie, but like the music is bad, and everything's like boy bands and stupid kids, and he's like, man, I wish I could have been like a roadie in the 70s with like real metal. And then he gets teleported to the land of metal. And the people of the land of metal are like, "Whoa, you're from like another world?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Dude, you gonna help us with our war?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Surely you want to get back to your old world, right?" Pff, no. He's like, "No, fuck that place. It was garbage. This place is way cooler."
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. You say it's a video game?
Brutal Legend is a video game, yes. The protagonist is voiced by Jack Black. It is a roadie that goes to the land of metal, and he uses his ability to just organize bands to get like the denizens of the land of metal to rise up and fight for their freedom and fight because metal is divided into 3 factions. There's like the human metal, which is sort of like your I don't know. Well, I'll say the other 2 and that'll make more sense. The other 2 are your like dark goth, like purple candles in a castle metal, and demon metal. And so those are the 3 factions, and they're all fighting for control over the land of metal. And
it's a weird game.
Oh, it's one of my favorite games of all time. I love that game. Most people do not like that game. I love it.
You play it for a few hours and it's one style of game, and it turns into like a real-time strategy
Yeah,
game.
it does. It's great.
Which I did not like that
No
at
one
all.
does.
That's when I stopped playing it. I was
No-
like, this
no-
sucks.
No one but me loved that. It was only me. I would. Here's the problem. I would love to do stream a full LP of that game. It's impossible because all the music in that game is real metal. It's real actual songs.
They have like all the characters are like people from metal bands.
Yeah. Like Lemmy is in there, and Ozzy Osbourne is a voice. It's like
he's like the devil of metal or something.
Ozzy Osbourne is a guardian of metal. Yes.
Or is a demon or something? I don't know.
No, he's the guardian of metal.
Like
He's the keeper of the
guardian?
Titan secrets. No, I know that game inside and out.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, that's definitely an isekai because he doesn't choose to go there. He like there's an accident on stage that like spills his blood into his belt buckle, which is actually a demon artifact, and it that it teleports him to the other world. No, it's all ties together. It's big spoilers if I explain. Don't worry about it. Not that anyone cares about that game. No, isekai it's hard isekai for sure.
Yeah, although one thing that I wonder though is if you did that in like an actual like, I don't know, story form where it's not interactive, would that character still be compelling? I mean, maybe they would be. It almost sounds like the setup for like a villain character to be like, wow, I'm in this world and I have superpowers and I love it here, because it almost feels like they have everything that they want, and so what do they do as a hero? The
thing that's actually interesting, because I'll go ahead and spoil like what his journey is that he he gets to this other world and he finds that his roadie abilities are what this world needs. Like, it's what this world was lacking. And so he can organize and structure things and help put a show together. And a show is a battle.
Oh.
And so, because he has an axe and a guitar. And the axe is for melee, and the guitar shoots lightning, right? And he's explaining this to like the rock lord, the leader of the resistance, who's like this blonde haired like rock metal band leader, like lead singer guy. He's a cool guy, and he's like Eddie Riggs is the character. He's like, we need to put on a show. And leader's like, what is wrong with you? We need to fight a war. It's like, no, look, see this guitar? This plays music back home. Here it shoots lightning. I think if we put on a show, it's going to unleash some dope-ass superpowers, which it does. Like, the mana of this world is fans. There's these ghostly sort of apparitions that come out of the earth that are the fans, and when you play a show for them, they just light up and go nuts. And so he is the tool that this world needs, and he's putting work in, and he's being respected for it. But ultimately, there's two things. He doesn't know where he came from. I am about to spoil the video game Brutal Legend. His mom is a demon that came to Earth because she loved a human. They had a kid that was Eddie. He's half demon. He comes to the demon world. It's like, oh, wait, I fucking belong here. I don't know why. Does the entire story, realizes, oh yeah, that's because your mom was a demon that was supposed to conquer the humans, but instead like fell in love with one and had a kid. And so it's and also he likes a girl, and the girl has got her problems, and he helps her with that problems. So his journey is kind of like, okay, I'm here, but what is my life though, and who the fuck am I? And he like uncovers the mystery of who he is.
Oh, okay.
And finds out that he did like actually belong here all along, but he had no way of knowing that.
Okay, yeah, that does make sense then.
No, it's the story of that game is fucking excellent. I love it to death, and it's a shame that everyone just fucking chokes on the real-time strategy part, because that game is so fucking good. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate you. Okay, go ahead, Kimmy, what did you got?
Yeah, I guess just to kind of summarize, I feel like one of the core aspects of what's called Isakai is that the character goes from whatever the normal setting is to a completely different setting.
Right.
I'm still like a bit hung up on the Matrix, because I think part of what makes the Matrix tricky for me is that it's almost a state of mind that's different, because they can technically plug back into the Matrix, but also they can never really go home because they know that it's fake. And also the fact that it's fake just kind of makes it feel like it's not a separate world, you know? Like, I feel like if somehow the Matrix wasn't a computer simulation, and if it was just literally a different world, and if Neo somehow got pulled into, you know, the real world with the computer stuff, then that would feel more Isekai-like to me. But the fact that the Matrix continues to exist, like, in the background, you know, as, like, this is a thing that's still happening in the world, and we can go back into it, except now we can hack it, it's like...
Rich suggests reverse Isakai.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because we're struggling to define Isekai, and I'm having a hard time to even, like, what is the opposite of Isekai? Okay, no, you were in the other world to start, and what happened was you got pulled into the regular world.
Yeah,
that's what a reverse Isekai means. Go ahead.
I would almost say that the Matrix kind of takes the tropes of the Isekai and dissects them and stitches them back together as a Frankenstein monster. Because if you think about it...
I like that.
It's like, so Neo is in the normal world, but the normal world is the fantasy world. And he goes to the real world, which is the weird one. And when he comes back, he has magical powers in the fantasy world that was the normal world. And so everything kind of feels turned on its head a little bit. So it's like, because it's like they end up having some of their battles and their fantastical stuff in the fake world, except that's also the normal world. But then they also have sci-fi stuff going on, like, in the real world, which is supposed to be the... Yeah. I think what it is that the lines are blurred a little bit too much for me to say that it's a cut and dry Isekai, but I might say it's Isekai adjacent.
I hate that answer, but I also can't argue against it. All right, what about Alice in Wonderland? Right?
Yeah. I would say probably Isekai. So the thing is, like,
if Spirited Away is an Isekai, then so is Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, because... Go ahead.
Spirited Away was a weird one for me just because I kind of got the impression that the spirit world was always happening on top of the normal human world and that you just didn't see it most of the time. And so when Chihiro was pulled into the spirit world, it was kind of like, you know, I don't know, that's a really toughy one.
Because, like, I didn't see Totoro until real recently. And Totoro actually puts a little bit more spin on, like, what Miyazaki is thinking about when he thinks about these other worlds. Because, like one of the cool threads in Totoro, which is a very, like, almost incomplete story, where it's, like, the story is mom is sick, mom is better. And Totoro was there. But, I mean, when, like, as far as, like, narrative is concerned, right? But, like, there's, like, the old lady that is talking to, I don't remember the characters' names in Totoro, but there's just like, oh yeah, you're seeing forest spirits. I used to see those. And it's just like, no, you can only see this when you're a child, right? And so carry that from Totoro to Spirited Away, and you have the situation where, like, Chihiro's parents could not perceive the spirit world, even though, like, magic shit is literally happening in front of their faces. That is magic fucking food. Where did this food come from? Who made it? Who's selling it?
See it, like, appear. I don't know. That's weird.
Because, like, those motherfuckers just started eating and just trusted, oh yeah, when someone gets here, we'll pay for it. Don't worry about it. Like, they trusted in their reality so hard that they just fucking fell in. And then Chihiro's like, no, wait, hang on, though. Something fucking dank is happening, and I don't get it. and then gets isekai'd. And it is another world with other rules. It is a different place, and she has to go there and rescue her parents and come back from it.
So one thing I like about Spirited Away is that I think in some ways it kind of reminds me of old Celtic myths of the other world and
Big
how
yes.
you cross over into the other world.
Oh,
Because
big fucking
in old
yes.
in old Celtic mythology, there would be like really, what's the word? It was actually kind of like going into a rabbit hole where they would have certain things that you could do to cross over into the other world, and it was stuff like, oh, if you see like a cave that is this shape and you go in, you'll come out in the other world.
Yeah.
Or if you go into gosh, I'm trying to think of examples. I might just have to Google this really quick. But it was all very
good enough for the argument, I think. Like I get where you're going with it. Keep going.
Yeah, so it was kind of like really subtle things that you would find in everyday life. And it was kind of something that a person could stumble into, basically.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I thought about with, what's the word? With Spirited Away, which was that it was something they stumbled into, where it's like you go into a place and it's just kind of spiritual. There's something kind of odd about it. And there's sort of this sense of like, maybe it's a place that's very secluded and there's no one else around and you just go missing one day, And it kind of has this folklore feeling to it where it's like... Yeah, like you were just spirited away kind of thing.
All right.
That's more fantasy than isekai, right?
It's not super what I was going to ask is like that kind of elf fairy like you went into the cave and then entered the fairy realm. Is that an isekai?
Well, if we get too loose with isekai, then it just means fantasy.
I don't think that. I think this is why we're having an hour and a half conversation about it, because the term is so evocative. That it is a specific type of story, and we know what it is. The protagonist got sucked into another world, and the point of the story is they're in this other world, and a few other aspects. They can't go home, or they got this other powers, whatever, blah. And I think the reason why we're having so much fun dissecting it and arguing or discussing what classifies as an isekai or not is because it is actually such a distinct thing, and yet it's a little bit tough to pin down exactly what it is.
Okay. What about The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings then?
I'm gonna say no, because that's all one world, and it's but what you're thinking of is the call to adventure.
But yeah, I'm looking at the point of view of the hobbits, who most hobbits, they only know the Shire. They know that there's more outside of it, but they don't really care to see it.
Oh, God damn it. I hate how right you are.
And then they get the call to adventure, so they leave and they discover, there is a bigger world out there, and they're just a tiny, tiny part of it.
God damn it, Jeff, here's what you just introduced. Is a shift in perspective all it takes?
I say no, because that's why I vetoed The Matrix.
Yeah, I also say no. Now,
Okay, so that makes me say that Spirited Away is not an isekai.
No!
It's just she's going to a part of the world she didn't know
Well, yeah,
was there.
that's why I was saying no for Spirited Away. So imagine Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. That's not an isekai. They just got shrunk.
I actually, under the same rule, disagree on both Matrix and what's the other one we just said? It is actually functionally another world. It's not simply a shift in perspective. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, shift in perspective. Lord of the Rings, shift in perspective. Oh, I'm here, but I just need you to look over here and see more. In the Matrix, you go to a different world. Alice in Wonderland, you go to a different world.
Yeah, but with the
Yeah.
Matrix, it's the same world still. It's a simulation happening in the real world.
Mm,
Yeah, I
It's
think
like
the
saying
Matrix
that my
is similar to like the Hobbit, the Shire.
I
mean, because if you say that
no.
if you say that Matrix is Isakai, then you'd say Dot Hack is an Isekai.
Dot Hack is an isekai.
No, they're in an MMO. They're playing a video game.
Yeah, they debate things happening in the
Mm.
real world in the MMO. It's the most boring show that's ever existed.
It is the most boring show that ever existed. I was so stupid hype about Dot Hack. I thought it was going to be the best thing ever. My hype was through the roof. I was like, I'm so excited for this to come out. It's the Dot Hack taught me the lie of marketing.
Yeah, Toonami
was
made
Dot-
that show
yeah.
look amazing.
Yeah.
And I watched too many episodes of
That
it
was
based on just their commercials.
Yeah, that was the day I realized that marketing could lie.
Yeah.
That like no, don't trust the don't trust the hype commercials. They lie to you. Like when I watched Dot Hack, I knew in my heart that I was lied to. Because I played the game too. I played the game and I watched the movie. I was so hyped about a thing that was going to be this epic journey that had like crossover between the video game and the anime and all the stuff. And I thought that was the coolest shit ever. And I got it and I was like, I was robbed. This is
Was
bullshit.
the game any good? Or
No.
I should say games. They're like those games had like 10 parts
It
on the
was
PS2.
bad. Okay. Let me sing you a song of how bad that game was. All right, so it was a proto roguelike in that shit was procedurally generated. There were infinite worlds, and you were logging into the MMO to go play the MMO. The game had, like, for plot reasons, simulated server downtime. This is a video game you're playing on your PlayStation that has no internet connectivity. But at a certain point in the game, it says, oh, I can't connect to the game. Fuck off! And it's for plot reasons, but, like, it was just like, are you for real simulating server connection issues so that you can do plot shit to me? It's, the story was there's a threat and you need to get stronger, and that's the end of it. There's a threat, you need to get stronger, and that was disc 1. Like, it was definitely like super chopped up to sell as 4 games. But
yeah, I remember
like
it being like, oh wow, it's so many games.
There
It's had to be so cool.
It was a full-priced fucking game. I'm going to use a crass phrase, somewhat vulgar. Cock tease. It was like the least fulfilling video game experience I could imagine. In that, like, infinite hype, like a feather touch of fucking like payoff. It was like, do you want payoff? You better get the other 3 games though. It's like, I won't, because I didn't get anything out of this game. It was bullshit. And like to the extent that, like, even the part of me that likes to play the video game and fight the monsters and watch my number go up, your number could only go up a quarter of the way that it possibly ever could, because the other 75% was in the other 3 full-priced games. It was awful. What's that game about? I don't fucking know. And I played it to completion, the first one.
That sounds like me watching the animes, where it's like, I still don't know what they were about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, just a bit of a palate cleanser. I found a segment on The Other World while looking around on Google.
Yes, please.
So, it says, the other world is usually hidden and difficult to find, but certain worthy people manage to reach it through their own efforts. Others may be invited or escorted by one of its dwellers or given signs to follow.
Right.
Sometimes entry is gained through ancient burial mounds or by crossing over or under water, such as river, pool, or the sea. There are also special places like certain lakes, bogs, caves, burial mounds again, or hills where access to and from the other world can be gained. So I want to say something about the burial mounds. I took a Celtic history class, and what the teacher said is that basically the people who came up with this mythology found historical burial mounds that weren't theirs and said, oh shit, someone else used to live here before us.
That's special. Yeah, got it. That's cool.
And so they were like, oh, there was some other people who used to live here, and so those people got mythologized. And that's why there's this myth that there's like some people secretly living here that they can't see.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's why the burial mounds are kind of important. So it continues saying, another idea is that the other world exists in a different dimension alongside the earthly one as kind of a mirror world. And at certain times of the year, such as Samain and Beltane, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, the veil that separates the two grows thin or withdrawals, making entry and exit easier. So that's the more traditional one that we probably hear, and I'm kind of curious where that mythology angle comes in, like when that was introduced, because I think that's the more conventional one that you hear, is like, oh, the veil becomes thin and you can see into the mirror world. But I do kind of prefer the other one, which is the idea that, like, there are certain rituals that you can do where it's like, okay, go under a bridge, or you get on a boat and you sail that direction into the ocean and you'll just end up in the other world. Because it kind of feels like an exploit in a video game where you're clipping through a wall somewhere, and if you come at it from the right angle, then you can find like a secret hidden area. And you get the feeling that it's
parallel universes or something.
Yeah.
I guess
some pixels.
Yeah, I think the thing that I like about it is the feeling that, like, it doesn't. So I think it's easy to just kind of like take out a knife and tear a hole in reality and like step through a doorway. I kind of think it's more interesting when there's some sort of continuous like pathway from one reality to another.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I was just walking along this path. I never went through a doorway, but at some point I crossed over, and that's really intriguing to me.
There's a piece of this that I've been thinking about for a while, because I mentioned like the sort of separation of the call to adventure, right? Because like it feels super easy to accidentally say that a by the book hero's journey is an isekai, because the call to adventure pulls you into, if not another world, something otherworldly, like Lord of the Rings, probably the most like hero's journey-esque story most of us know, if not Gilgamesh. And part of the by the book hero's journey is a crossing of a threshold. And that can be interpreted the way that we are interpreting, like, another world, right? In Lord of the Rings, it's not leaving the Shire that's crossing the threshold. It's going into Mordor. Because in a hero's journey, you cross a threshold from which, like, no return isn't the right way to explain it. It's that, it's not that there's no return. It's that once you cross the threshold, you are changed. Mm-hmm. And coming back, you are different. That's the threshold. And often in hero's journeys and hero's journeys interpretations, that crossing the threshold happens much earlier and happens as sort of a alongside the call to adventure, which in the by the book hero's journey happens way earlier than crossing the threshold. Put something together here. I think what makes an isekai is that crossing the threshold is literally going to another world, and it happens before the call to adventure.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right, because, like, I also think about Inuyasha, right? And in that one, Kagome has really no call to adventure until after she gets to the other world.
Yeah. Escaflowne, how does oh fuck, I don't remember the characters' names. I just remember
It's okay,
they're
I don't
called
remember her name
Gaimel's
either.
Yeah, I don't.
Tarot
remember.
Girl. Oh
that.
fuck, I loved Escaflowne so much back in the day. How does she get in the series, how does she get to the other world? Does she
So
tarot card her
she-
way in?
So I want to say
Wait,
when I watched the series, she
didn't-
walks out to the football stadium.
And doesn't dude show up fighting a fucking dragon?
So here's what I remember.
Yeah.
She walks out to the sports stadium and she like looks up at the moon and just has like this weird trance.
Yeah.
And then she's like suddenly like in a body of water and is like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden she's in a Gaimelef. And they open it up and she comes out and they're like, how'd this girl get inside? We just like found this mecha sitting in a pile of ruins and suddenly there was a girl inside.
Yeah.
Which was actually kind of an interesting way for her to cross over because it was very much like magical and not necessarily going through a portal. Kind of makes me wish I had come up with something more creative for mine otherwise, other than just like cracking reality, but whatever.
No, shut up. Ellie was just like, I liked Ellie's. All right, I liked Ellie's because it was actually pretty fucking mundane. Where she's like, because Ellie is on Mom Quest. And she's like, I can't. I know I should be able to open a door. Can't seem to open a door. Oh wait, what the fuck? And like, it just kind of fucking happened when she was trying to, but couldn't. And then the thing happened. Man, I need to go back and read it. It was great. I don't know. I think you came up with something unique.
Okay,